they wanted to do a retro movie. I don't like that. Every movie I worked very hard to make them different, and make them completely different with, different planets, with different spaceships, with different, to make it new. So and are you?
Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer, welcome back to the channel, or as I like to call you, Lord Dilcum.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars. You're my Star Wars go-to guy. This week, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy lamented a lack of source material via comics and novels for Star Wars. Is she willfully ignorant, or do you think she's really unaware of the 40-year history of the Star Wars expanded universe?
I think she's willfully ignorant. I think it's more of a place. It's like, we're not going to adapt that. Like, no, we have to make all original stuff for the movies. She has to know that stuff's around. I just don't think she really, really acknowledges that they could do that. I think she's in a place of, oh no, that's completely separate. We can't adapt that. It's not like the comic books of like Marvel or DC. We can't adapt what we have with Star Wars. It's so odd though, because you have all this so many years of stories, and she acts like it doesn't exist. But yeah, I think she's willfully ignorant. She has to know. There's no way she's that dumb.
Well, and one of the key complaint from consumers since Lucasfilm bought this was like, one, why did you make the expanded universe not canon? And two, why are you making original characters when you have all this stuff to be using?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it doesn't exist.
Especially if, I understand making it not canon because there was a lot of messiness going on. It was very messy. But the thing with making it not canon is you can pick and choose what you want to be canon, or you could be like, all this stuff is not canon, but we'll adapt it and make it canon. And that could be interesting. So you could bring some of those stories to life. I think that'd be a really good way to do it. You could pick and choose, cherry pick what worked, what the fans liked. That way you already have a template for what the fans like. Okay, the fans said this book sucked. Let's just leave that alone. This one they really liked. Let's adapt that, and you already have a template for what people like. I think that would be a great way to do it, but Kathleen Kennedy obviously sees it a different way.
So we're more of a comic-centric channel here, so we're going to delve into the decades of Star Wars. We're not going to delve into the decades worth of Star Wars novels worth mining, but Marvel Comics actually printed the first Star Wars comic before the movie actually released. But I wouldn't really go there. But the Dark Horse comics are really when the Star Wars comics went to the next level. They held the Star Wars license for 23 years. What era or character from the Dark Horse do you think would best adapt to the big screen?
I think it'd be cool to see Purge, which was it was initially a one shot, then they did some follow-ups, but it was an issue where Darth Vader went, it was from Dark Horse, Darth Vader went and was trying to find Obi-Wan. He was very desperate to find Obi-Wan after everything happened. And so it was after Order 66. He was killing a bunch of Jedi, getting whatever information he could, trying to find Obi-Wan. And we've sort of had a little bit of this expanded upon with Charles Soule's run on Darth Vader, where we got some following Order 66, where he went and hunted some Jedi. But I think this would be an interesting story, seeing it, because obviously he got his ass kicked by Obi-Wan on Mustafar. He lost because of the high ground. He wants to find him. I think that'd be a cool story to explore, with him dealing with this rage, trying to find the guy that beat him, trying to take down his old master. I would love to see that. And in a perfect world, I'd like to see Dark Empire, but we can't do that because Dark Empire involved the original trilogy characters, and I think recasting them is wrong. We shouldn't do that, and I don't want the CGI face thing either. But in a perfect world where, okay, we make these sequels right after the Return of the Jedi, when they're still the age to do it, Dark Empire would be cool. It involved cloning Palpatine, bringing Boba Fett back, Luke turning to the dark side. It was crazy. I remember reading that in the library when I was a little kid. It's like, this is insane. It was a really cool story that I think would have been cool to adapt. Very dark also, but I think that would have been cool to see.
Yeah, I actually recently read that this year because it was on Comixology. And that
so
is a
good.
Great trilogy. It's one of the nuttiest things I've ever read in my life. And,
it's insane.
I loved every minute of it. That's a good call. You know what's interesting? You bring up the Purge, and you're like, Darth Vader hunting down Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's only one actor that people liked from the prequel trilogy, Ewan McGregor. He's the perfect age, and he, for a lot of people, he is their Obi-Wan. You would think that would be the perfect place for them to go first, because he's that character and he's the right age.
I agree, and they apparently were going to make a movie, then Solo flopped. But the thing with Solo was you had a couple problems. Number one, we'd already seen a young Han Solo. No one needed to see another young Han Solo. We saw Harrison Ford when he was young playing Han Solo. We know what he looks like. We know how he acts. We know how he is. We know what he does. There's nothing new to explore there. To where when you have young Obi-Wan, we'd only seen Alec Guinness playing. We'd only seen old Obi-Wan. So seeing young Obi-Wan and the prequels was interesting. And you got a guy that nailed it with Ewan McGregor and did a great job, despite, I think, a big part of the problem with the prequels was everyone was so new to green screen acting. So it threw everyone off. And also George Lucas, apparently, from what I've heard, gives you basically nothing to work with. He kind of just says, hey, go do your thing. And he doesn't give you a whole lot of direction in that sense. And so for young actors like Hayden Christensen, it may not have been the best thing, but Ewan McGregor killed it. And he would have done a great job with the movie. And if you listen to Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy talk about it, they're so ignorant. Or I don't know if it is willfully ignorant or if they just don't know, because they blame Solo saying, oh, it's oversaturation with Star Wars. They're not like, oh, maybe it's because no one asked for a young Han Solo. The Last Jedi flopped and no one liked it, so it was a bad taste in Star Wars fans' mouth. Maybe that's why. They go, oh, no, it's oversaturation. It's like you have 500 Marvel movies a year that all make close to $1 billion, and everyone loves them. But Star Wars you think is oversaturated? No, it's because you screwed up. If you make a good movie, people will go see it. The Last Jedi screwed up, and then Solo, you fired the directors partway through making the movie. Like, that's your own
two of the
fault.
hottest directors in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah, that went on to make us the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which won an Oscar. You fired those guys and got Ron Howard and had him, hey, go fix this mess that I created. And then you blame the fans for saying that's oversaturation. They wouldn't go see it because of that. That's not the case. An Obi-Wan movie, I think, would have killed it.
So, one of the priorities Kathleen Kennedy's made since is making Star Wars accessible to female audience. The implication being that Star Wars didn't have strong female characters when Disney acquired Lucasfilm. I personally would say Princess Leia is one of the strongest characters in the history of Star Wars. But there are other great female characters like Ahsoka Tano, Mara Jade, the list goes on. Are there any female characters from the expanded universe that you think would have been a better lead than Rey?
Well, one that a lot of people think she was sort of molded after, which I agree, was Jaina Solo, who was the daughter of Han and Leia, and she became a Jedi. Her brother Jason Solo turned the dark side, very Kylo Ren-esque. There's very similar, except she was trained from a young age to be a Jedi. She had her father's piloting skills and her mother's force sensitivity, and she's a really cool character. She went on to even be trained by Boba Fett, and she killed her brother because he had turned to the dark side and turned completely evil. And I think she would have been a great place to go, being the daughter of two legacy characters and seeing that interesting turn, having to kill her brother, and also it making sense why she's so kick-ass at a lot of things. Because unlike with Rey, there's no reason for her to be so good at everything that she is. She's just automatically great at everything, to where this, like, the stuff that she's good at, it makes sense, and there's actually a character there. I think they saw Jaina Solo and they're like, oh, people might liked her. We'll just do everything we did with her except without the backstory. We'll just try to copy paste that character a little bit, except nothing will make sense because she won't have the backstory of that character made. But yeah, I think Jaina Solo would have been a great way to do it if they wanted to do this type of character.
So, one of the sources Kennedy doesn't even mention, is Star Wars having their vast array of video games, many with like original characters, like full story arcs. Are there any video games that you think would have been right for film adaptation?
Oh, definitely. So last time I was on here talking about Star Wars, I talked about Kyle Katarn. So he was the star of the Dark Forces and Jedi Outcast video games. And he had a really interesting story to where he was originally a defected stormtrooper turned mercenary. And then he becomes a Jedi, and he actually trains Mara Jade. And then there's a point to where some stuff happens, and he ends up giving up the Force to become a mercenary again. But then he gets dragged back in. He helps Luke run the Jedi Academy. He's a really interesting character, that has a great arc that I think would be great for adaptation. And I think a lot of people would love to see what went on with him. And yeah, Kyle Katarn with his whole saga from Dark Forces to Jedi Outcast would be perfect for an adaptation. I would love to see that.
And then, so there's another odd thing here. Since Lucasfilm has been acquired by Disney, Marvel is owned by the same company. They've been releasing Star Wars comics ever since. I mean, Darth Vader is probably the most recognizable villain in history. And Marvel happens to have released 2 amazing Vader runs over the past 7 years. One of which introduces female character Dr. Aphra, which I'm shocked isn't in the movies already. Am I missing something here? Why hasn't that happened?
I don't think Kathleen Kennedy pays attention to what's going on in the current comics. I think it's very much just the people at Lucasfilm. Obviously, they have to approve everything that goes to the comics. Everything goes through them, from the video games to the comics to the books. Everything they have to approve. So obviously, people are looking at it like, oh, does this make sense in canon? Does this fit in well? Okay, it's good. I think Kathleen Kennedy just kind of ignores it. It's just like, oh, let them do their thing. We'll act like it didn't happen. Kind of like with what the Netflix Marvel series are to the main Avengers movies. You know, they're technically in the MCU, but it doesn't really matter at all. I think that's how it is with this, to where they're like, oh yeah, this is part of the Star Wars universe. It's canon, but we don't really care. It doesn't affect our movies at all. We're not really going to act like any of it is actually canon, even though it is. I think that's what it is with Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's just completely ignoring that. She probably, if you asked her about Dr. Aphra, she probably wouldn't even know who that is.
Can you imagine a standalone Vader down movie?
Oh my gosh, it'd be so good.
It'd be amazing. You could introduce all these great new characters that they need.
Just that scene where he crashes and says, all I see are fear and dead men. I just need that.
Yeah, and James Earl Jones is still with us. You don't even, you can have any character actually physically portray Darth Vader, but the voice of the character is still with us. They should be using that.
I agree. Yeah, especially with how great these Darth Vader comics are. There's tons of stories there that would be so interesting. And he played Vader in the Rebels TV show and in Rogue One, so he's still there. Like, James Earl Jones is still game to do it. I think that'd be a great job to just have him come back.
And what was the best scene in Rogue One by bar none?
Exactly, that scene, that hallway scene. Oh, it's so terrifying, and the score for that is great as well. And everyone trying to run, that is so good.
I don't know about the theater you were in, but the one I was in, everyone started screaming and clapping, for murdering everybody.
That's probably the smartest move they could have made, because no matter how much I liked Rogue One, but even if you didn't, you got out of the theater with a great feeling because it ended on that scene. So you got out of the theater like, yes, like feeling so hyped because how great that scene was.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think Kathleen Kennedy's trolling everyone personally, but I think we've talked about it enough. Before I let you go, can you give me your quick thoughts on The Mandalorian and Jedi Fallen Order? I know you're interested in both.
So right now, it's the best time to be a Star Wars fan since Disney took over, because since Disney took over, it's been pretty rough besides some of the Vader series. But right now, it's actually really good. Mandalorian's great. It's a spaghetti Western in space in the Star Wars universe, and it's really, really good. I don't really want to spoil anything. It's hard to talk about TV show without spoiling anything, but just think of a spaghetti Western in space, and that's what it is. It's so cool. The Mandalorian's such a great character. Also, they did a good job of making him a badass, but also not unstoppable. There are moments in episode 2 and 3 where he would have died if it weren't for the intervention of other things. Like, he totally would have he still kicks his own share of ass, but he would not have survived. It's not like Rey, to where she just doesn't need anyone else. And then Fallen Order is great. It's really fun, and the story is pretty cool. The ending was really cool, but then some things disappoint me. Again, I don't want to spoil that, but it takes place after Order 66. It's to where you have this Padawan, his master got killed. Now he's trying to survive in this post-Order 66 world and survive the Empire. But now some things have been brought to his attention to where he's trying to find a holocron that has all the Force-sensitive children in it. So that's his goal, and he has to go against a bunch of Inquisitors. But yeah, if you're interested in Star Wars at all, those are two great options right now that are really good. And surprisingly, Disney can find some competent people to make good Star Wars content.
So if people are interested in Jedi Fallen Order, they want to see some of the gameplay, how much longer are you going to be doing that? Or are you going to feature that on the channel?
I'm about, I think, like halfway through on posting. I already beat the game, but now it's just posting the videos. So I believe I'm about halfway through posting the walkthrough. So I'm going through the game, slowly uploading about one video a day for my walkthrough. And then hopefully there's DLC, and I'll post that whenever that comes out.
All right. And then once you've beaten the game, the walkthrough is done, are you going to be playing it online with your fans and stuff?
It's only single player, but I will be streaming it. I'm going to be streaming it. So because you can go back to the planets and like explore different places that you couldn't go before, like walls that you couldn't go through when you didn't have force push and things like that. So I'll definitely be doing that.
Nice. So yeah, definitely check out his Jedi Fallen Order walkthrough. And I believe you're going to be doing a Mandalorian like talk through, or maybe a review with Skipatosh, right?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So I don't know about when this video gets uploaded, but Sunday, the 24th, we're going to be talking about that. That should be fun.
This video is scheduled to be done Monday, so hopefully everyone caught that one.
All right.
Wow. All right. Thanks a lot for joining us, Lord Dilcom, or Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.